You are watching the Deadfoot Diver Podcast with Curt the Deadfoot Diver.
Thanks for joining me today on the Deadfoot Diver. I'm Curt the Deadfoot Diver, and I'm very pleased to have Dave Lawrence and Dave Jr. from the Scuba Gym in Orlando, Florida. How's it going, guys?
It's going great.
Great. Yeah.
Good to be here.
That's awesome. I guess you guys are enjoying a bit more warmer weather than what you've had recently. I can't say I have much sympathy for you when it comes to the weather. Especially if you only had to freeze for a couple of days.
Well, when you showed us the picture of your backyard, our first thought was it's white sand, not snow.
Yeah, I would. That would be the ideal thing. I would much rather have a desert. So, thanks for coming on today, guys. I talked to Lindy actually at first from the Scuba Gym in Australia. And she was the one that gave me your name to get in touch with you guys. And I'm really excited to talk to you guys because you were actually the one who started the Scuba Gym, right?
Yeah, actually, David, I kid around and I tell everybody David was the first test dummy for everything that's happening now. So, yeah.
Which is amazing. So tell me exactly how you got started in this and about your injury, David, and what it's basically done to you, because I've heard some pretty amazing stuff.
You want me to tell the background story, David, or?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
He's more of the scientist than the talker. I'm more of the talker and probably more of the doer. But yeah, David, when he was 11, we found out he had a brain tumor, and it was a life-threatening tumor. And the night before the surgeries, the doctors kind of let me in, saying that he may not even make it through the surgery because it was so deep and so complex. It basically sat in his central nervous system inside of his brain. They went about 6.5 inches, to extract the tumor. They had to go in and out 3 times. It was a long surgery, and about seven and a half hours. It was so long ago. So some of the little details have slipped, but anyway, he came out paralyzed from the neck down, and it was pretty devastating for his mom and I, and just kind of didn't really know what to do. Didn't know how to help him at first, and then he was in critical ICU, neuro ICU, and I was talking to an old friend, and I said, Ray, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to help him. I don't know what to do. And he's like, David, you went through this. And I was like, Ray, I was never paralyzed from the neck down. I never went through this. And he goes, yeah, you did. Don't you remember your motorcycle wreck? And I had a serious motorcycle wreck when I was 12. And not to go into another long story, is my parents died when I was young. My dad died when I was 7, my mom when I was 10. Grew up in a small little town, and really the town is what raised me. So it was kind of one of those things where, flashback to that, I felt like I knew what to say to him. I knew exactly, how to handle him, and because he was having some issues at that time too about, dealing with it. He was mad. He wasn't expecting to be in that position, and neither did his mom and I. We weren't really expecting him to be so bad off. And anyway, I went in there and just told him what life was going to be like, and it was his decision to get better or stay in the bed. And he chose to get out of the bed, and I told him, I'd give him every day of my life, that if he wanted to get out of the bed, I'd be right there with him. And we went 6 days a week, physical therapy, occupational therapy. I did home therapy with him. Well, before that, I spent 2 months in a rehab hospital with him up in Jacksonville. I learned so much from those people, because his prognosis was he wasn't going to walk again, So he took that challenge on and said, no, I'm going to walk again. I want to play football. And, so he got where he was good where he was at. And, I thought, well, do I go back to the IT world, where not a whole lot of people care which family does and how your family is, and or start a scuba gym. I mean, that's why I named it, to help people with paralysis and all the things that David went through, and that also led into helping people with cognitive issues, brain issues, neurological issues, autism, Down syndrome, all those things. So it just kind of expanded quite rapidly, from there. And but yeah, so I chose that, and I started the scuba gym in 2009, which was probably the worst time in the world you could ever switch jobs and decide to start a company. And we've been blessed every year, and growing and helping more people. So
Wow, that's amazing. So,
yeah.
and you can, so tell me, you're completely paralyzed, correct, David?
Yeah.
And now I've heard that you can actually even like run and everything, right?
Yeah. I could walk. I could run. I'm a scuba instructor, so I'm running around here and there, tanks, hopping in the back of the truck, loading, unloading, going around wherever needs to be, running around Bon Air, shore diving.
That's amazing. I mean, so how much do you think that the scuba doing the scuba
can I
therapy?
add something in there real quick?
Absolutely.
It's funny because people take his class. They'll be in the class with him. Open water class for 17 hours. With him around him and stuff like that, and they have no idea of the things he's been through. And he still, to this day, doesn't have any feedback on the whole left side of his body. So you could basically, cut him right down the middle, and he feels nothing on the left side of his body. But he still moves his
Really?
feet. He can pick up things. He can hold things. And when he's talking, I mean, he talks with both hands, but he can't, he can't feel the one. And but that was part of the therapy that I took him through. Is just, I tell everybody, scuba is the tool that I use to help people and rehab them. It's not going scuba diving. The environment that I work in to help them. So that's one thing he left out. He still doesn't have any feeling on the whole left side of his body, which is not fair, because like when we have like a spicy eating contest, I'm like burning up over here, and he goes like, I said, that's not spicy, and he goes, no.
So you actually can't even taste on like half your tongue?
If I can localize the flavors and everything to that side, but the mouth, kind of moves around, so it can get around a little bit, but it's not
He
completely
cheats. He
absolute.
cheats.
But
Yeah,
And
hey man, he's got every right to cheat after what he's been through, and that's freaking awesome,
oh,
man.
whatever. I'm tired of hearing that. The other thing too is he doesn't get brain freezes from eating ice cream too fast.
No way.
I'm telling you, it just, yeah. Anyway.
yeah, my great uncle says that just that fact alone is almost worth having brain surgery. Almost.
I don't know. I think I'd put up with the yeah. I do. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'd put up with the brain freezes, but I mean, it's a good. I mean, hey, you got an advantage. You go into a hot eating contest, man. He like, they can't even accuse you of cheating.
Yeah. Well, I say he's cheating, but everybody was like, "Oh, he could do it. He's worth it. Everything he went through." I'm like, whatever. Whatever.
That's amazing, though, and that's amazing that you're actually a scuba instructor now.
Yeah, he's actually a
skydiving.
instructor trainer. He could be a course director. He just doesn't have any desire to do that. He doesn't want to teach instructors. Although he does a lot of it, but yeah.
That's awesome though that you've come that far from being paralyzed like that and able to do it. I mean, I can't imagine not being able to feel the whole half of my body, because I feel like with me, I have no feeling just below the knee. And it's except for I got one little tiny spot in the middle of my foot on the bottom where if I touch it, I can feel it, but it's only like maybe about the size of a quarter, and that's it. Other than that, I have no feeling on the left side at all.
I don't know if you've realized this or not, but I could probably help you with that.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
I know. I wish you guys were closer. And actually, I was telling Lindy from the Scuba Gym in Australia that for you guys are lucky in the fact that in the States you guys have more options for disabilities as far as getting programs going and stuff. If I want to go anywhere to get any like if I wanted to even play sledge hockey or something like that, or even try it, I got to drive at least 3.5 hours. And there's absolutely no scuba instructors around here that have any adaptive training. In fact, the closest one to me is 6.5 hours away. And
Wow.
he's the one I'm going to actually drive to Ottawa and get technical training from starting this summer. But
well,
yeah,
you could
it's
always
just not.
you could always make it a vacation down here, and I have a couple, great. Well, I'm a tech instructor. I mean, I know a couple other, really good tech instructors that have, kids with special needs and things like that, and they're very, very good with the adaptive. If you want to get into rebreathers, things like that. So just saying, and the water's a lot warmer and probably more things to see.
Yeah, I am actually going to be going to Florida probably. Well, I'm going to come to DEMA in November for sure. So hopefully I can make a trip, make one day at your shop, and maybe come out when you guys are doing some training with some of your therapy with some of your guys, because that'd be awesome to get that on video.
Yeah, well, we're out there. We're at the pool four times a week, so plenty of opportunity.
Which is awesome. How many students do you guys have a week?
Oh, that'd be a Kim question. It's just a blur. Mondays and Wednesday mornings, I'm in the pool 6 hours, 6 hours straight, working with everybody, and then we have on any given day we have anywhere from 5 to 7 people at a time every hour for 6 hours, and then
Wow.
we have evening sessions too, where before COVID we had up to 35 people in the pool. Yeah.
Wow.
But
That's
all
amazing.
all of our programs are 1-to-1, so it's not like a group thing. So we have a volunteer for every person that's in the water.
Wow. And are all those, what level are they at? Are they instructors or dive masters or?
No, we have a program that we wrote with standards and everything like that, that they could be open water certified. They
Okay.
could be open water certified. It's more like an internship that we bring them in and we start them on the deck. We show them how to do everything as far as that goes, because we are at an Olympic training center, but it's an outdoor pool, and thunderstorms and things like that can come in at a pretty quick pace in Florida. So everybody is trained where everything goes, how everything is done, and we can clean up 30, 35 sets of gear in less than 10 minutes off of the deck. So
Wow.
yeah. And then we get them in the water, they observe, and then we put them with a seasoned volunteer, and then they get comfortable with that. So they kind of assist them. And then they, eventually we give them to some of our seasoned divers that have been coming out for years, that we worry more about the volunteer than we do the person in the water. So, yeah.
And why is that?
Well, because I mean, when you finally say, "Hey, here, can you take Daniel And you're like, I don't think I'm ready. I don't think I'm ready. And we're like, you're ready. You're fine, you know. And Daniel's been coming out for about 12 years, you know. And Daniel's actually adaptive certified, but he um he has, you know, he has special needs and stuff like that. But again, we worry more about, you know, the volunteer for the first time because they're all nervous and worried if they can actually do it. But we also have spotters in the water too, you know, extra people like our instructors and things like that that can kind of more like Jedi kind of people that kind of see things that could happen, and you know, different people will react different way, and they can kind of scoop in. So
Which is
it helps
awesome.
them.
So do you guys use a lot of full face masks
No,
with your
not at all.
stuff too? No full face masks.
I have never put anybody on a full face mask, and that goes back.
Okay.
I feel like I'm talking all the time, but but the that goes back to, I talked to Dr. Bird at Divers Alert Network years ago when I
Yep.
wanted to get David certified and you know, go down this path. And I talked to him about it, and yeah, I went down that first thing as, man, I need to put him in a full face mask because what if he inhales water? What if he does this? What if he does that? And Dr. Bird kind of like set the stone, or you know, the you know, my pivot point in my thinking is, he said, well, you know, you're going to be in a pool. You're not going to be 60 feet under. You're going to be in a pool. Um, the likelihood of, if something happens, you know, you're going to be in the surface in a couple seconds. If they have a full face mask on, and I think a lot of people have never worn a full face mask, I tell people, you know, it's like putting an octopus on your face, right? When you come, if you've never
Yeah.
worn one, this is how I present it. I tell people it's like putting an octopus on your face. And when you come to the surface, you're not just going to rip it off, right? Because you have to
Yeah.
undo the sides, the top, you know, and everything like that. Then pull it up and over. And it usually has to be on the face, you know, kind of snug so it doesn't leak and things like that. And he said, I'd rather you just be in open circuit, regular, you know, first and second stage with a mask on, so you can deal with different issues and stuff like that. And so I just kind of went down that path instead of the full face mask. And for some reason, I know some of the programs out there, full face mask, but in the 16 years, and the hundreds and hundreds of people that we've had come through, I've never had to put anybody in a full face mask. Now, Lindy over in Australia, she did have one girl that did have a jaw problem, right? And
Yep.
she had a gagging problem. Even if they have a gagging problem, I can usually work with them. I give them a, you know, mouthpiece to take home, you know, things like that. So we work through those kind of issues. But there was one lady, she just had too many kind of issues, you know, with her jaw and things like that. We did put her in a full face mask, and she was fine. She was a little, you know, little older, and she was very in tune with what was going on and stuff like that. My biggest fear is about full face masks is they could flood and you not even know it, right?
Yeah.
Because a full face mask is like this, you know, and I can't see if
Yeah.
there's water in there. I can see if if a reg pops out of their mouth. I can see if it's, you know, starting to bubble and they're starting to let loose of their lips and things like that. So that, you know, again, everybody's different, but that's why we've never used, you know, full face masks or anything.
Yeah, I was just curious because I know that I've talked a lot to Diveheart, Jim Elliott. They use them a lot, depending, especially for their quadriplegics and stuff. So yeah, I'm interested to get your opinion on that, which is cool. I totally agree. In the pool, yeah, I would think it would be better and a lot easier just because of depth wise, it's gonna be a lot less risk. And I mean, I have wore a full face mask a couple of times, like back in the 90s. I wore an AGA a few times, and they're not easy to get used to at first if you're not used to it, and you could easily panic in one. So when they first started telling me actually that they were using full face masks for a lot of them, I was like, really? I was actually shocked because I would have even thought that would have been a very easy thing for them to get used to, even just getting used to having a full face mask on.
And again, everybody has to be comfortable with what they're doing and their training and how they're doing things. I just, again, Dr. Bird just sent that, that thought process, because I had the same thought process too about, oh, I need to put David in a full face mask because, if this happens, this happens. What if he has a seizure? What if he has this? And he just kind of said, well, and same things I just explained, and again, 16 years later, we've never had an issue. People spit their reg out underwater, and we put it back in, purge
Oh,
it, and go on. Or we're at the surface, and most of what we do, we're in about 12, 15 feet of water, in the pool, generally. So it's not that big of a deal. And we do have some open water where we go to the Rainbow River and we do some dives with the special needs people. And we don't use full face masks then either. Yeah.
Which how many of your guys do you actually have actively doing outside open water diving?
So we usually once a year we go to the Rainbow River. That's kind of our big thing, and it's by invitation only. So it's the people that are doing better, on the scuba and things like that. So it's kind of like a reward for them. Yeah, and the water's a little colder than the pool, so we have to take that into account too. Yeah, it's a whole 72 degrees.
72.
year round.
Okay.
Year round, 72 degrees. So
yeah,
which is weird because it'll be 98 degrees in the summer here, and everybody jumps in and they freeze, and then it could be in the 30s or 40s here, and we go up to the river and they jump in and they're like, "Oh, I'm warm," So, but it's the same temperature year round. Yeah.
So Dave Jr., since you've been so quiet here, tell me how, once you started doing scuba therapy, how quickly you started to get movement back and stuff like that with it.
Some things would happen a little bit quicker than others, but it'd be you'd see some rapid improvements right away through it, and then others would take a little bit longer. So if just a little bit of movements within the first few sessions going through, moving around.
So what kind of, in just a couple of sessions, like what was the first time that you went, oh my God, this is like really working and helping? Because I mean, I know from being disabled myself that's kind of a mind-blowing thing when all of a sudden it's like, oh my God.
Yeah, well, the with the brain tumor, the extraction kind of, and I'm butting in because it did mess with his memory, and we didn't realize that. I mean, he came out, he seemed fine, everything like that, cognitively, but we didn't find out until months later that his memories would only go back, like his personal memories would only go back like 3 months.
Wow.
And it was like a rolling type deal where he wouldn't remember the 4 months back, and he would forget this, and so we would tell a lot of stories, and he would remember the stories, but he wouldn't have the personal memories of that. So like if you ask him a personal question, well, how did you feel then, and how long did it take? During that period, he doesn't have a whole lot of memories of what happened and how he felt about it. But since then, now, I mean, he recalls things from years ago, but just not during that period, if that makes sense.
So then for you as a dad who is going through this agony of seeing your kid being paralyzed and trying to get him out, like what was the first thing that you seen happen to him that you went, oh my God, this is actually working. We need to like do this more and more and more.
Well, when I first started, I thought, well, I need to get the feeling back. And then if he has feeling, he can move it, right? So that's what I really concentrated on. Get the feeling back, and he could do it. Well, since then, I have people that are, in a wheelchair for 30 years, and I get them walking on the bottom of the pool, and they can't feel any steps that they're making, but they're making the steps on their own because I retrained the nervous system to work. And the first time was he didn't see me because he was laying on the couch, and we have like these lazy boy couches, and he had his feet up, right? And I walked by him, and I was always prodding him and poking him and seeing what he felt. Drove him crazy, by the way. He didn't like that at all. But I was like, okay, do you feel that now? Do you feel this now? Do you feel that now? Dad, I'm done. Okay, stop. But I was just driven to get him whole again and get him working. And but anyway, I walked by him and I rubbed my hand on the top of his foot like this, just real easy. Just as I was walking by, I rubbed it, and he jumped and he started laughing. And of course, I spun around and I was like, "You felt that?" And he goes, "No." I was like, "Well, why'd you laugh?" And he goes, "I don't know." I was like, "What do you mean you don't know?" And father son, teenager dad, argument kind of style. And I was like, so I did it again, and he laughed, and then he yelled at me, "Stop!" And I was like, "Well, no, you laughed. Why'd you laugh?" He goes, "I don't know." I was like, "You have to know. You felt that." He goes, "I didn't feel that." And so I did it again, and he laughed, and he looked at me, and he goes, "Stop it," And I was like, "So you felt it? Why did you laugh?" He goes, "I don't know. All of a sudden, my brain tells me to laugh, and I laughed." So of course, I left him alone because the argument was getting pretty heated, and I went to my office. And I just sat there and I just started thinking about that. Well, how in the world, is he getting a feedback to laugh when I'm, rubbing the top of his foot, not the bottom of his foot, but he can't feel it. And right then and there, I thought, well, why don't I work on the nerves firing the muscles, to cause motion. And I'm a computer programmer by trade, if you will. That was what I was good at, and things like that. And so I just kind of studied the nervous system and started really figuring out what nerves do what. I mean, I already kind of knew that from all the things we had already been through, but I really started honing in. Okay, so how does the motion of a step work? Which nerves are involved in that? And I just started poking those nerves over and over and over, and he was able to start moving and functioning, and yeah, and then he took over. So
Wow, which is amazing. So how long have you been a scuba instructor for now?
Which one of us?
David Jr. How long have you been a scuba instructor for?
I think next month marks 9 years.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, I think next year I get my 10-year pin.
yeah, you were 18, right?
I think I was just about to turn 19, so yeah,
Yeah.
18.
That is a massive, I mean, being the fact that I was an instructor back in the 90s, that is not an easy thing to do. So, I mean, especially after what you went through, that's amazing that you do that. And you said you teach technical stuff too as well? Or do
Yeah.
you do technical diving?
Yeah, I have a couple of tech certifications to teach as an instructor. My dad has more, just based on time. I just couldn't go through the classes to officially get certified to be an instructor for them, but I do have tech certifications on rebreathers and other stuff.
So, is your memory still affected to a certain extent when you are doing like, do you find that you have to do other stuff to compensate or whatever when you're or tech diving when you have like so much stuff to monitor and all that, especially if like a rebreather?
No, I'm very analytical. So I don't have too much of an issue monitoring all of that. It doesn't really feel like it's that much to do.
I'm usually asking him, hey, how do we do this again? Yeah.
Well, then that's good in one way, because I mean, at least it's amazing the fact that you're able to actually do that after what your son's been through.
Oh yeah,
and it's incredible that you're actually a tech diving instructor.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I give you full kudos for that.
Yeah, all the time I'll say, "Hey, does this look right?" And he looks over and he goes, "Yeah, maybe." I'm like, "David, I'm setting up my rebreather and everything like that." I was like, "Here, you check this out. Does it look okay?" And he looks over and he goes, "Yeah, maybe." So you're probably seeing a theme here. Laughter and sarcasm has gotten us through everything. So.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. And by the way, we're also on your favorite podcast platforms now. We are on Amazon. We are on Spotify. We are on iHeartRadio. We are on Player FM and Podchaser. All of the descriptions are going to be down below, so make sure you check us out. Thanks. Have a great day. And remember, grab an adventure and live. Oh, yeah. Which, I mean, it's awesome for that, especially when you're going through stuff like this. I can't imagine as a parent going through that with a kid, especially, I mean, just me being disabled alone. I can't imagine having to do that with my own kid. Right.
Well,
So
you take it on. A lot of people say I can. And actually, Kim and I did say that because we had a good friend of ours that had a child with a mixed chromosome, and just listening and hearing from her and all the things she went through. And before we went through this with David, we were like, wow, we can never do something like that. That's just amazing. And I think when you're in it, you either do it or you don't. Because we did see the other side of that, where a lot of parents just they got divorced. They didn't know what to do. Guilt, everything set in, and it didn't end well for the child. And we have seen the other side of that while we were going through this, and it was just never an option for Kim and I, and it was never an option for me. I'm highly motivated, highly competitive, so I took this on as my ultimate life challenge to get him better.
so how many scuba gyms do you have now?
Well, we have the one in Orlando. We have a couple locations in Florida that we use for like summer camps, things like that. We're opening up one in Marietta, Georgia, and then we also have one in Kansas City also.
16 years ago, 17 years ago, I got bashed for, wanting to do the scuba gym by a lot of people in the scuba industry,
Really?
Yeah, there were most of the agencies said, no, we won't have anything to do with that. You're experimenting with kids, you're doing this, you're doing that. I mean, just all kind of stuff. And I had one person, at the time, he was head of Nowie sales. He was a national territory rep for Nowie. Called him up, told him what I wanted to do, didn't know him. And he said, if that's what you want to do, he said, that would be amazing for the people that are going to come out, that you're going to help. And he said, that would be great for scuba, And I was like, yeah, but what about, he goes, don't worry about that. He goes, just keep doing what you're doing until I tell you to stop.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, that gave me the kind of the green light to do what I do. And, but yeah, I just, just like, why can't special needs, why can't autistic kids that are nonverbal, learn to dive? And I think the other thing too, that, about the adapted programs and, all of them, that are out there, you have to check a box, I think Jim started Dive Hard a couple years, before I started the Scuba Gym. And I was thinking about going up and getting trained from him and everything, but he was doing everything handicapped. Cognitively they were fine, but they were in a chair, things like that. It wasn't really the cognitive things. And it just seemed like everybody was making everybody check a box, right?
Yeah.
If you don't check all those boxes, you can't dive, you know? And who in the world, in the handicap world, wants to have to go through and prove and go down another checklist, right?
Oh yeah. No, I completely agree.
Yeah. So I was like, well, that's ridiculous. And so Nowie's adaptive program has no check boxes, really, that excludes you from diving. Okay.
Really?
Yeah. So it actually has, you get a waterproof piece of paper, and you check off what they can do and what they cannot do in confined water, what they need assistance with in open water, right? Or what they can and cannot do in open water. But it's not you have to check all the boxes and then you can do it. It's a checklist to tell the person that's helping them, all right, their dive buddy, what they need help with. Okay. Based on me as an instructor, what I feel, is best for that diver. Okay. So it could be
just telling the number of people who could be buddied with them.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So the way the NAUI adaptive program is me as an instructor, it could be 2 certified adults, it could be 3 or 4, it could be up to a 4-man team, and then it also could be just an instructor with this person, or just a dive leader, meaning dive master or instructor, assistant instructor, anything like that, or it could be a certified diver with an instructor. So it's all based on a 4-man team with it. So it's very open. And again, you're not checking boxes to exclude somebody, right? You're checking.
Which is good. 'Cause I mean, a lot of places up here, they don't want to deal with liability stuff.
It's all crap. It's all crap because, one, they're scared to do it is really what it is. Because if you're in any of these adaptive programs, you're covered by the liability.
Yeah.
The thing, it's just like I get a lot of people that call our shop and say, "Hey, my son's 12 now. We want to get him certified." And I was like, "What do you mean 12 now?" And they're like, "Yeah, well, we were told that they had to be 12 to be certified." And I'm like, "No, you only have to be 10." And they're like, "Well, no, this shop told." I was like, "No, across the board, all the agencies are 10 years old. They just don't want to deal with the kids, right?"
Yeah.
So I'd rather have 10 kids in the class than 10 adults.
Yeah.
David's the opposite. He does okay with the kids, but they kind of drive him crazy sometimes. But
depends on the kids.
So we're upset with that. No, he likes the kids. He does really well with the kids, but I could tell it's not his favorite class to teach. But I do all the summer camps, and by the end of the first day, I got them all doing cannonballs and stuff like that. So. But yeah, I think I'm on the opposite scale of this whole, what about liability? Okay, how many people have been sued for helping a special needs person?
Don't think any, but I don't know.
I mean, can you think of any that a handicapped person, has been sued? An instructor has been sued for helping a handicapped person. How many instructors have been sued, teaching open water class?
Oh, lots.
Absolutely. Right. So where's the liability? I mean, I think if you stop, you pause and you think about it, I'm not saying everybody has to do it, because if your heart's not in it, it ain't going to work. Right.
That's the thing. I think a lot of people are they're not only that, it like makes them face realities that they don't want to necessarily face.
Mm-hmm.
Or you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I do. I just, it's not their thing, and I get it. And that's why I said starting a scuba gym, finding the right people, like somebody like yourself, you're passionate about it, you understand it, you've lived that life. It
has saved my life getting back into this again. Yeah. No ifs, ands, or buts. Yeah. It has saved my life. I literally was miserable until I threw that tank on. I mean, yeah, I was involved in some stuff in that, but it was I wasn't getting anything fulfilling. I mean, when I dove back in the 90s, before I got out of it, I did some commercial diving stuff. I worked for Mel Fisher, diving for him for almost a year. Yeah, so I've actually been in contact with Kane again. I might go down and do some diving with him at some point. But you know, it has basically saved my life getting back into this again. I will push this and to anybody I can, just because of the mental aspect of what it has done. I will talk to anybody who ever wants to ask me. And which is one of the other reasons I want to get my Adaptive Dive Buddy cert so bad, because I never want to be in position where I'm at a resort somewhere and they have somebody that wants to go in for a dive and they can't because they don't have an extra person who's like qualified to help them or whatever, right? I want to be able to make sure that I can.
Okay, so well, and again, this is my rub. Why do you have to be certified as an Adaptive Dive Buddy to be able to do it? You were already an instructor at one time, right?
Yeah, a long time ago, but
okay. I'd rather go with an instructor than a dive buddy.
True.
Right? I'd rather go with a dive master than a dive buddy.
Yeah.
You know? Why not just re-engage your certs?
I may do that. I may actually do. I was actually thinking about re-engaging my certs, but the only thing is to do it up here. It would cost me a lot of money.
Well, okay. So were you Patty or?
I was Patty.
Oh, that's gonna be a lot of retraining.
Yeah, I was originally trained.
That would cost a lot of money. Oh, you were originally trained now?
Yeah, not as an instructor, but just as my open water cert. Yeah. I did NAUI. The only reason I switched to Patty was because at the time everybody was going to Patty.
Yeah, no, I understand. It was more of a jab. I was just kidding that it would take longer because you're a Patty instructor. Well, I mean, if you want to come down here, man, I'll do an update for you. I mean, you'd have to cross over to the dark side of NAUI.
How long would it? How much would it cost me, and how long would it take?
So you heard my earlier commitment to people, right?
Yeah. Oh,
you know.
Okay.
No, I'm serious. I mean, listen, right. somebody like you being out there, being vocal, you know, I mean, it's better for all of us, you know, and like I said, you know, okay, you're going to be a dive buddy certified. All right. You walk on a boat. Oh, I'm dive buddy certified. Well, let me just tell you something. I was just down in Bonaire, and this is kind of a long story, and I guess we have time, but
yeah.
I was sitting in the van, right? We were in Bonaire, and we're sitting in the van, and this little kid sitting beside me. He's like 12 years old. Coolest kid in the world. He's from Jersey, right? And I look over at him. I was like, "Hey," I said, "What you gonna do? You know, what you gonna do in Bonaire?" He goes, "Oh, my family's down here." He says, "I think we're gonna do snorkeling and some other things." And I said, "Snorkeling?" I was like, "Man, you're in Bonaire. You should be scuba diving." And he looks. Well, I don't even know how to look because I'm sideways now. But he looks over at me and he goes, "Unfortunately, we're not scuba diving." But that would be amazing. Like that to me. And I told him, I was like, you know, you're sitting beside the guy that could probably make that happen. And he looked back over at me and he goes, "Don't tease me." and I'll have to send you some pictures, but it's so funny because I didn't know it, but he has some not cognitive issues, but behavioral management issues and things like that. Yeah. Super good kid. He's on medication for it, and he does really well. But we ended up doing a Discover Scuba with him right there in the bay and everything like that. And so his mom wanted to do it too. And then so on the dock, so I took him out first, and I came back around, and I got her, you know, and because we didn't have a pool to start with, so I was like, I'm just taking one at a time. And I came back around and I picked him up with his mom and we went out, and then Kim was with me, and the mom was starting to have ear problems and stuff like that. So Kim went back to the dock with her, and then I took him out, and I told him, I said, look, your first dive is limited to 20 feet, or 25 feet.
Yeah.
And so we stayed at 25 feet. And then when I dropped him off, that there was a period of time, right? So the second dive, I could go to 40, right?
Yeah.
So I took him out, and we went down, and I had an extra dive computer, so I stuck it on his wrist, and he's watching the depth and everything, and it was real cool. And he just kept looking at me like he kept doing this, like mind blown, mind blown, and schools of fish were coming by, and it just changed his whole world, and that's what I love about being a scuba instructor, especially with kids. Because we have Title I kids come out, and we have big programs for them and stuff like that, and they would never have the opportunity to do something life-changing like that, right?
I honestly would love to be an instructor again.
Let's do lives whenever you want to do it.
I would love to. Yeah, my whole goal with this doing this podcast thing is so that I can eventually just be doing that, being an adaptive buddy instructor, even better.
It's finding those people that are passionate to do what I do and come alongside and make all that happen.
Hey everybody, I want to thank our guests, Dave and Dave Jr. from the Scuba Gym today. And remember, please like, share, and subscribe. And remember, grab an adventure and live. See you next time.